On Earth. Welcome to Life on Earth.
Well, hello, you good people, and welcome. Welcome to Life on Earth. Allow me to wish you a happy new year. I hope you all had an outstanding Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate during that last week of December, but it's time to talk New Year's. It's time to talk resolutions. Today is December 29th, 2022, the 363rd day of this year. And the end of the year shows are in full effect, and I'm all about that. Earlier today, Don Watkins and Nikos Sotirakopoulos on the Ayn Rand Institute's Impact Live, they presented why New Year's resolutions fail. And I want to share a few thoughts I had on that podcast. Right after that, Jean Maroney Binswanger, offered her free Zoom session on setting goals that motivate. And before that one even ended, on the Daily Objective, of course, it's Thursday. We had the Thursday Collective, and it's the last Thursday of the month, so we had the book of the month, and it's the last book of the month of the year, so we had the book of the year. That was excellent with Mark Pellegrino and screenwriters Jennifer Buani. I always have trouble with Buani, and then I end up having trouble saying Jennifer. So rude. Jennifer is so awesome. And Jacqueline Schumann. And me. I got to be a part of Book Talk today too. All of the books were well chosen. And if it was a contest, I think it was really a tie between Alex Epstein's Fossil Future and Frederick Douglass's autobiography, narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave. Both well recommended. I think all the titles were well recommended in today's show. Now, given the date, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day are this weekend. And these intersecting themes of resolutions, goals, and purpose, I want to share a few thoughts that I think you will find invaluable or valuable. I guess it's like flammable and inflammable. A few thoughts I believe you will find valuable from the book that I recommended, Martha Beck's book, The Way of Integrity, which I had handy to show off on the screen, but I guess I must have taken it with me when I finished the show. You saw that earlier. If you didn't, again, Martha Beck, The Way of Integrity. But first and foremost, I want to see in the chat, and thank you to Equal to Reality. Thank you. I decided not to wear the same shirt twice in one day for two shows. Kindred Amy is also in the chat. What I want to see in the chat, besides your charming remarks, two things. First, if you have any New Year's resolutions that you're already brainstorming, that you've already got in mind for 2023, I would love to know. What are you thinking about in terms of resolutions? Where will your resolve be steeled? And second, I want to see some super chat. Oh my gosh, the super chat earlier today was great. During the Book of the Year episode, it was awesome, but it was even better yesterday. The show I did with James Valiant. Super chat was great. Jeff Bannister in particular came through. Folks, he's already a major supporter of the ARCUK with his generosity. Yesterday was awesome. I don't know if we can beat that, but I'm willing to let you try. So yeah, would love to see some super chats. They don't go to me. They go to the Ayn Rand Center UK, but anything that supports the Ayn Rand Center UK supports me too. Greatly appreciated. Also, if you're not already a member, link is at the top of the chat. You can do that. But I want to see your resolutions. Bring them, show them into the chat. And I will try to speak more eloquently. I don't know, all tongue-tied today. It's because I've been thinking about resolutions. I got a brain full of resolutions and integrity. What do you mean resolutions and integrity? I don't know, maybe they're kind of related. Well, let's talk about that. Earlier this year, I did an episode on benevolence. When Amy Nasir was part of the show too. That was great. And we talked about the benevolent universe premise. And if you heard that episode, you might remember I gave this example. Imagine this, you're in a grocery store and you're in the checkout aisle. You're ready to go. You're about to get up to the register, and it happens that behind you in the line, there's a mother of three, a harried mother of three. Right behind you. She's got like one or two items in her cart. And the question comes up, well, should you let her go ahead of you? Now, there may be circumstances where no is the right answer. You're in a hurry, you're late for a party, you've got a sick child at home. or just you've had that kind of day when you just need to do your thing and get out of there. But the point here is, it is not a matter of altruism to take advantage of opportunities of this kind. It's not altruism to be polite or generous or charitable. It's integrity. It's a matter of integrity, of capitalizing on these opportunities that come to you to express your ability, your benevolence, your values. You know, Ayn Rand wrote in The Virtue of Selfishness, quote, "The virtue involved in helping those one loves is not selflessness or sacrifice, but integrity. Integrity is loyalty to one's convictions and values. It is the policy of acting in accordance with one's values, of expressing, upholding, and translating them into practical reality. If a man professes to love a woman, yet his actions are indifferent, inimical, or damaging to her, it is this lack of integrity that makes him immoral," unquote. So I'd want to relate integrity to integration in epistemology. Are they related? Well, our bodies, our systems, our brains automatically integrate sensations into percepts. And then we opt, by free will, to integrate percepts into concepts, and concepts into propositions, and propositions into systems, whole systems of thought. And you integrate those systems into wisdom disciplines, into ideas about how to live. Now, I'm always a little suspicious when an objectivist tells me, "Oh yeah, objectivism, I already believed all that stuff. You know, Ayn Rand just reinforced it, or she gave me the words, but that was already my philosophy." I have to admit, and let me know in the chat if you've run into this too, I have two contradictory reactions to that. Because first, I'm automatically skeptical. And not because I think the statement is necessarily dishonest or even necessarily braggadocious, but because these ideas, this philosophy, is more than just revolutionary. The philosophy is a way, a path. And unless I know the person in question has achieved extraordinary success and happiness and peace of mind, well, then I've got to wonder if they really get these ideas, if they'd really followed the path that these ideas would lead one upon. But the second half of the contradiction in me is that I find myself wanting to believe the person, believe the claimant. And that's because it's perfectly natural that somebody's philosophy, to the extent that it was already based on reality, and we're all in the same reality, and to the extent that it's based in human nature, and we all have a similar human nature, then they should align with objectivism. These ideas, objectivism is to be lived. And if someone's been living rationally and successfully and happily, it stands to reason that, to a substantial extent, their ideas do align with objectivism, that they do have integrity in that way. Let me quote Ayn Rand's definition of integrity. Quote, "Integrity is the recognition of the fact that you cannot fake your consciousness, just as honesty is the recognition of the fact that you cannot fake existence. That man is an indivisible entity, an integrated unit of two attributes, matter and consciousness, and that he may permit no breach between body and mind, between action and thought, between his life and his convictions. That like a judge impervious to public opinion, he may not sacrifice his convictions to the wishes of others, be it the whole of mankind shouting pleas or threats against him. That courage and confidence are practical necessities. That courage is the practical form of being true to existence, of being true to truth. And confidence is the practical form of being true to one's own consciousness, unquote. Now, a huge shout out, because you did exactly what I wanted. In the chat, Kindred Amy is in with $1.99, a super chat, and says, we'll be composing a painting on a canvas. Amy has been working on art, so that is good news indeed. And Equal to Reality is in for £5 and says, for the new year and personality, to let my 30s not suck as much as my 20s. I know that kind of resolution all too well. And earlier in the chat, he did share some of his resolutions to do more exercise other than walking. I don't know, walking's pretty good. But yes, eat more healthy, try and find a partner, always a good thing, and be a lot more selfish. See, I love that one, because I don't think everybody fully appreciates the challenge that it is. Peter Keating knows by the end of the Fountainhead what a challenge it is to be selfish, to do what you really want, and not just, Ben Shapiro's idea of selfishness, go to the bar, pick up chicks, whatever you can get away with. No, to be truly selfish, that is a good resolution. So again, courage and confidence are practical necessities. In Ayn Rand's words, courage is the practical form of being true to existence, of being true to truth, and confidence. I love the song, I Have Confidence, from The Sound of Music. That one actually gets me choked up. Confidence is the practical form of being true to one's own consciousness. I'm going to quote the Stoic philosopher Seneca, Seneca the Younger. And I see that Robin and Peritu, I got to work on my foreign pronunciations. Good to see you all in the chat. The Stoic philosopher Seneca the Younger, I don't want to get in trouble here. At some point, Aaron Smith is going to say, haven't you read my articles on Stoicism? Yes, I have, and you're absolutely right. If you haven't read Aaron Smith and Ben Baer on Stoicism on the Ayn Rand Institute website, you absolutely should. But pulled out of their context and into ours, there's wisdom here. Seneca the Younger wrote, philosophy teaches us to act, not to speak. It exacts of every man that he should live according to his own standards, that his life should not be out of harmony with his words, and that further, his inner life should be of one hue and not out of harmony with all his activities. This, I say, is the highest duty and the highest proof of wisdom, that deed and word should be in accord, that a man should be equal to himself under all conditions and always the same, unquote. See, I like that. That deed and word should be in accord. You should do what you say and say what you mean. Philosophy, again, philosophy teaches us to act, not to speak. Well, speaking is good too, but that's not the primary. We used to get into conversations, I guess some of us still do get into these conversations about, well, who's an objectivist? Who's the real objectivist? Who is a true objectivist? But my question to somebody who says, yeah, I'm an objectivist, is, well, how's your life? Are you living these ideas? And I'm not suggesting that if you're living these ideas, you should have achieved all your values. But is that what you're working on? Are you living these ideas? Are you squeezing the value out of these ideas? And that's why when an objectivist tells me, oh, I already believed all that stuff. Ayn Rand just, gave me the words. Oh, really? Are you rational? Are you productive? Are you enjoying life on earth? Are you living this truth? And hey, that's not as easy or simple as it sounds. Those of you who have actually tried it, you've actually put these ideas to work. Well, you've probably found some career success. You may have found romantic success. And you might have revisited some of the challenges of your youth and gotten through some of those. But I'm learning, at least in my case, and I'm not that young, It's not that easy. I know a lot about objectivism, and I am doing my best to live it, to have integrity. And what's strange in this is that it turns out psychology matters. There's stuff that comes up from my youth or from my young adulthood, or even from the recent past that makes it a challenge. And to better explain why that's a challenge, I will recommend once again, as I did on the Book of the Year episode earlier today, a great resource on the way of integrity called The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck. Now, here's the spoiler. In the most recent post on my Facebook feed, I'm giving you links to all of these resources, which you can take advantage of. You can capitalize without spending any money. Well, until you decide you want to. The Way of Integrity is a longish book on Audible. It's about 8.5 hours. And what's interesting about Martha Beck and The Way of Integrity, in which she seeks to help us all achieve greater integrity in our lives, is she uses as a framework for this Dante's The Divine Comedy. And I'll just give you a bit of the 4-part breakdown there. In the first of the 4 sections, she talks about the dark wood of error. And, you know, Dante is wandering through the woods and he catches up with Virgil, the poet, his great inspiration, who helps him figure out what to do. You know, quote, "I'm facing all the monsters in the dark forest of error. The errors are those beliefs that we have picked up that give us that sense that I am lost." And we pick up these errors, these beliefs from our cultures, unquote. Now, she doesn't mean Western culture versus Eastern culture. She's talking about the cultures of our social groups, our families, our workplace, our neighborhood, the larger society. We take all these ideas in, even ones that we're sure we have never taken in, by peer pressure, by routine, by our environment, by other people's expectations. And we live these ideas. For example, you know, I'm the breadwinner of the family. I'm a man. I need to work hard. And that is my value in working hard and supplying a home and food. And I know a lot of you are out there much more independent than that. And you're thinking, well, I've never fallen for any of that. If you read the book or even use the free online exercises, you will be surprised. Trust me, you will be surprised. So we get to where we think, okay, well, I've done everything right. But our lives are foggy, murky, we're unhappy, or at least we're not nearly as happy as we feel we could and should be. And what's interesting, one thing she points out is that, especially for those of us who were hardworking in our careers, career-oriented, she points this out. When it's not working, you know, when it's not making us happy, when it's not leading us to the kind of success we think we're working toward, what do? We say, oh, well, I just need to work harder. Or if our money, our financial success isn't making us happy, oh, well, I just need to earn more money. You know, we double down on whatever it is we're doing that has us feeling lost and alienated. We don't ask ourselves, am I really living the life that matches my spirit, my psychology, my soul, my values? And so we have to work our way up, work our way through the dark wood of error by identifying those beliefs that we have picked up along the way. And unfortunately, you can't just fix them. You know, awareness is not always curative. No, we have to go into, remember the allegory here, we have to go into Dante's Inferno. We're using the Divine Comedy as a map here. And there's a reason for that. It's not arbitrary. You know, Steve Miller sings in Jet Airliner, you've got to go through hell before you get to heaven. I won't try to give you the whole book, but increasing your level of integrity, being who you really are, is crucial. If you want to really understand integrity, not just the explicit and conceptual version that Ayn Rand explains so brilliantly, but what it means to achieve full integrity in your life, I recommend the book, The Way of Integrity, Martha Beck. And the exercises are available as a free download. And if you do the exercises, it'll give you an idea what she's driving at. Powerful, powerful stuff. And speaking of free, because all that is free, if you know who Tim Ferriss is, great podcaster, presenter, author of the 4-Hour Workweek, Tools of Titans, and all sorts of outstanding success productivity tools. He's a big fan of Seneca, and he's taken Seneca's letters and compiled them into 3 PDF files, which are free. It's a free resource for you to download from his website. And the links to that are in the show notes that I posted to Facebook. And that's fun because, of course, excuse me, the heck, silence that ringer before show. What's wrong with you? Oh, but I wanted to talk to Spam Risk. Oh, well, I'll call Mr. Risk later. It's fun because Tim Ferriss has put these PDF files on his website, and they're like little books, and he's picked out the good stuff. You know, and he doesn't leave in the stuff that Aaron Smith warns us about. It's fun, and it's good, and it's powerful stuff. So take a look at that. And the point that needs to be made here is philosophy is a science, but it's also an art, a craft. You know the difference between arts and crafts and science. Science is something where once you learn it, you can do it. Maybe with a little lesson on how to handle test tubes. But arts, crafts, you can learn everything you need to know about how to paint. But if you never paint, if you never put brush to canvas, you can know everything there is to know and you will not be able to paint. With an art, with a craft, you've actually got to do it. You've actually got to practice it. And philosophy is the same way. You can learn philosophy, but in my experience, you can't just learn this stuff and then you're an objectivist and you're rich and you're in love and you're happy. It turns out you could have all the right ideas and add in all the practical knowledge that you can learn from people like Tim Ferriss. It's still not going to happen until you get out there and practice it and try and fail and try and fail and try again until you start having some success. You actually have to do these things. You actually have to apply this to your life. Now, that's not prescriptive in terms of concretes. You don't have to become an architect or an inventor of a new motor. You don't even have to dye your hair orange. It's not a single way. And that's just obvious from the fact that if you're going to apply it to your life, you know, anybody who applies this to their life, your life is messy in the sense that it's complicated. And that's why you need exercises. And believe me, I'm one of those people who reads a book like Martha Beck's The Way of Integrity and says, I don't need to do the exercises, or I can do them in my head. I don't need to do them on paper. But that's why you need exercise. That's why I need exercises, and why you need to actually answer questions about yourself. You know, there's a lot of great living your own best life motivational tools out there. It's not about the tools, it's about what you do with them. And so, with New Year's Eve coming day after tomorrow, and New Year's Day on Sunday, see, I want you well armed. I want to be well armed. If you're going to choose New Year's resolutions, and you should, listen to Don Watkins and Nico's discussion. And if you're not already a member of Jean Moroney's Thinking Labs, read her blog posts on goal setting and motivation. But here's my advice. Number one, I'm just going to give you 3, but you need them. Number one, when you make your New Year's resolutions, choose goals, not values. You know, so-called actionable items, things that you can actually take steps to achieve. And once you've achieved them, you have achieved them. Not, well, I'm going to have more money. No, make it specific, make it concrete. I'm going to achieve a net worth of, say, $100,000, including a fully liquid $5,000 rainy day fund. Not get skinny or get buff, but specifically, I'm going to drop my weight to 120 or 220, depending on where you're at. Work up to a set of 50 push-ups or 450 pounds on the leg press. Not find a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but meet new people, via internet groups or work events, in-person special interest groups or dating apps. But specifically, meet new people and go out with somebody at least once a month. Doesn't have to be the love of your life. Just get out there and have a cup of coffee. That's how it happens. Again, goals, not just resolutions. Or I should say goals, not just values. You can call them resolutions to firm up your resolve, but resolve to achieve specific goals. Now, with that said, I'm all in favor of your goals having themes. I like themes. I think they're powerful to have that abstract layer on top. As you might imagine, my theme for 2023 is be who you are. Now, I know that sounds very woo, but understood properly, it means have integrity in both of the Howard Roark senses. The one sense is the Manhattan Bank Company building. That integrity that says, you want to hire me to build this building? I've designed this great building. Oh, you're only going to hire me if you're allowed to modify it? No, I can't have that. I can't have that building go up with a design that I know isn't right, isn't true to the location, isn't true to my intention. No, you can't do it. You can't have it. Okay, that's one form of integrity. The second form of integrity is what Stephen Mallory talks to Dominique about. She asks, they're apart at this time. She says, how's Howard Roark doing? And Mallory says, I printed out the quote. Maybe I can do it from memory. She says, he never changes, Howard doesn't change. I think he's the only one of us who's achieved immortality, not in the sense that he won't die someday, but in the sense that he is the same. For most of us, a piece of us dies every day. We're not the same person we were from one day to the next. But Howard Roark, you can see him living forever. That's the second sense that I mean. That's integrity. That's being who you are. If it seems like a contradiction that integrity is what's keeping you from achieving your New Year's resolutions, think again. If you want to change, you have to change. So my second tip is make sure you really want to do the thing you think you want to do. Of course, I want to do the thing I think I want to do. That's tautological. Nikos gave a great example of this when him and Don were discussing this. Nikos had a resolution for 2022, for the previous year's resolutions, to get up early. And you see this, and Nikos studies a lot of success strategies, and he and I read a lot of the same books, I think. And a lot of folks will tell you in the success strategies and the coaching communities, one of the things you need to do is you need to get up early. Successful people are up early making things happen, while less successful people are still in bed sleeping. And we're, executing our morning routines, and we've already got our day in effect by 8 a.m. And it sounds great, but it's actually one of those things that's more of a value than a goal. And it turns out in his case, it wasn't a value at all. If you know Nikos Sotirakopoulos, he works for the Ayn Rand Institute, but he lives in Greece. And for time zone reasons alone, on top of other things, there's just no reason for him to be up early in the morning. It makes no sense. And he named other reasons why It sounded great as an abstract goal. And it's good to do things that people you admire do, not blindly, but just modeling to see how that works for you. So yes, make sure you really want to do the thing you want to do. If you want to change, you're going to have to change. Do you really want to change? Internally and externally. Internally, the changes we're talking about, this leads to the way of integrity. Enough has been said about that. But externally, this leads me to my point number 3, the final one. Craft your environment, change your inputs, manage your lifestyle, change your context. You don't get to change one thing without changing everything. There are reasons you do the things you do. And if you don't change those reasons, those inputs, those motivations, the obligations, your routines, your triggers, you're asking for different results from the same inputs. So you've got to change what's causing the behavior for the behavior to change. So I am looking forward to making some changes in 2023. I will be sharing some of these with you, including some of the methods by which I make that happen. We'll see how successful I am if I have to eat any of my words in this regard, but with resources like those from Jean Moroney and her goal-setting workshops, and resources like the discussion that Don Watkins and Nikos Sotirakopoulos had earlier today, and conversations that are going to continue between you and I and all of us on the ARCUK. No more super chats. Bring it on. Get one in there before the end of the show. Click that super chat button. I shouldn't be so demanding. Y'all have been very generous, and it is very much appreciated. But, December 29th, only 2 more broadcast days before the end of the year. So feel free to get a last one in there. Greatly appreciate those of you who have already done that. Again, I'm looking forward to making changes in 2023. Now, a few of which may lead to substantial changes and improvements in my videos and podcasts, and some of which we're hoping will expand my reach and impact. And I hope you will continue to join me. I am committed to being, I'm committed to providing substantial value to you, and some inspiration, some amusement, some impact as we continue this journey together into the new year. Because we have each been gifted, and I've said this before, and I'm conscious of it 24/7, we have each been gifted this one awesome, irreplaceable life. And while life is long, there's no time to waste. Fortunately, thanks to Ayn Rand, we have got the best, most accurate, most powerful owner's manual yet produced. And I am far from finished talking to you about it. In fact, integrity demands that I keep on discussing and analyzing and celebrating this life on Earth.